everybody. Aley here. We are joined at the beautiful Coleman's Theatre at the Rotary Arts Center today by Scott Sheppard, local musician, music teacher, fellow bandmate, and person I know very well. So thank you so much for being here today, Scott.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about today in terms of sort of the Corner Brook West Coast music scene and the art scene and your role as a teacher within that as well. But first, I wouldn't mind if you could just kind of introduce yourself a bit and talk about some of the things you've been involved with here in Corner Brook.
Yeah, like you said, I'm Scott. Yeah, I've been working at Gary Bennett Music, teaching guitar and bass lessons, but on Wednesday nights I do like a band night, so it's kind of like a rock band setting. And in 2021, we did our group, there was 5 of us, and we put together a group of about 7 original tunes and made a recording and released a little album, so that was a lot of fun, and yeah.
That's great. Can you tell me a bit more about just sort of what drew you back to Newfoundland and sort of how you got involved in the music community here as a musician yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up in Tennessee, but I was born in Corner Brook, and I moved back here around 2013. I lived in St. John's for a little while and then ended up realizing that I loved the West Coast of Newfoundland, so moved back here. And just started playing music around and then got the job at Gary Bennett Music teaching. And yeah, I've been doing that ever since, plugging away.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great sort of, there's a pretty nice legacy to the Gary Bennett Music Studio. It seems like a really nice place for younger people to sort of come into their own within music. I know that you are a songwriter, which we can also talk about, but maybe before we get into that, I'd like to hear a little bit more about this sort of band forming project, because I've seen, last summer I saw 2 of these bands play at the Bowwaters Park, and I know that one of them that you mentioned, the Stangers, have kind of written a bunch of original music informed by you. You sort of guided them into the practice of becoming a band, which is something that, you know, lots of kids get music lessons, but that's a very specific set of skills and negotiations. And they sound great. So they sound, I can hear your musical influence a little bit in their sound, but also they have their own sort of magic and quality as well. So yeah, could you just tell me a bit more about sort of that process and how it came to be and the kids involved?
Yeah, sure, yeah. So we've always done like the summer rock camp, and in the summer rock camp we just get a big group of kids, and for the past few years it's been myself and Melanie Goss at Gary Bennett Music, and we basically just kind of out of, you know, we might have 10 kids, we might, you know, one year we had close to 20, and we just kind of section them off into 2 bands, and Melanie kind of like overlooks one, I overlook one, but then we cross over and we kind of help, you know. And so we've always done that, but a few years back I started, like I said, well, I didn't start it, but I took it on, like the Wednesday night rock band, and they were mostly doing, I think up until that point, cover songs, and I made it a point to start, you know, inspiring the kids to kind of write songs, and you know, I think that's like, you know, for a young kid, you know, that's a really rewarding process, and so we kind of kept on that, and then so we've been doing it for a few years, and then we'd have like a showcase of the original tunes at the Gary Bennett Music Recital at the end of the year, which used to be at the Arts and Culture Center, yeah. But then, you know, since COVID, it's been in a couple of different venues and stuff, but. Yeah, so last year we had a group of specific kids come in that were really kind of just jazzed on the whole idea of writing original tunes. They didn't even want to learn covers. Like usually we do like the winter semester of like teaching, we'll do cover music and then transition in the spring to writing originals, but they just wanted to start with the originals, which I was pumped about.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I have them all individually in lessons, right? So private lessons. So there's a group of 5 kids, and yeah, so it's great. So we can work as a band on Wednesday nights and kind of like establish what it's like to play together. But then separately, I get to kind of like, okay, well, you want to play a solo in this section. Let's look at like the key of the song. Let's look at that specific scale. Let's look at certain licks that would kind of work out as a solo for that. So it's been great, yeah. So and it kind of all kind of culminated in going into the studio and recording an album. And so we released their album in August of 2021. And they're the Strangers. The album's called Dark Days.
Yeah, if anyone
Yeah.
wants to look up the EP,
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. That was a big process, kind of getting it uploaded, and they're all really excited. Like they listen back pretty often, hey. And
Yeah, they're pumped. Yeah. Yeah.
I think there was some buzz in they're in junior high, right?
They all go to
Mostly?
CBI. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're kind of like age 12 to 15 range, or is that
I think 14 to 11. I think.
11?
Is the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there was a bit of buzz after after the album was released, and sort of their friends were listening to it. And I mean, I saw some of this process unfold. I want to ask you more about the recording soon, but one thing that really struck me with this project was that it felt reminiscent in some ways of a version of Cornerbrook that maybe you and I were both. I mean, I know you didn't go to high school here, but like that you know a lot of people close to have, and that was familiar to me as well. Which, you know, when I was in high school, 13 years ago or so, they did these battles of the bands. There were a huge amount of original bands in Cornerbrook with young kids. And I know that sort of my brother's generation and the one before that, that was a big thing here too.
Right.
So, you know, I think that like something that comes up sometimes is this gap between, you know, students doing music lessons now and maybe not always understanding what they can kind of do with those lessons, whereas maybe our generation had a clear sort of path towards like, oh, if I learn this, I can be in a band with this, and then I can be a part of this culture and this scene and this kind of exciting creative development. And yeah, I guess I'm asking, do you feel like that's kind of bridged the gap for these students who have been involved in this band? Like,
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's the intent. Like, I feel like, you know, I don't want to knock like any genre at all. Obviously, I love like pop music and stuff, but I think like a lot of kids like ingest a lot more pop music maybe now, and a lot of music that doesn't necessarily have like guitars or like played instruments. Maybe it's a lot more like software based, you know, like beats and stuff. So I think it was a great situation that allowed these kids to have like context for why they would learn an instrument, you know, like,
yeah.
Because it's one thing to kind of just like statically learn an instrument and go home and play it to yourself, but then to bring that to a place with other young kids that are like at the same level as you, and you know, have the same general tastes and the same kind of experience, and to actually have that kind of grow into something, you know, that allows them to see, oh, well, this is why I should play an instrument, to like have fun and jam with my friends. Like, yeah, I hope they got that experience out of that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to being in a band or even just being in any sort of creative collaboration than technical ability. And I know that as you're sort of teaching these kids on Wednesday nights, you're also focused on sort of this idea that they're all paying attention at the same time, that they know how to use and turn on their gear, turn it off, and be sort of responsible. Coil cables, yeah, there's all these kind of skills that...
the not so glamorous stuff that's essential, yeah.
But important stuff too. And I think, you know, a really interesting thing, like a lot of younger people who are starting out like that, they don't really get the mentorship or the experience of getting to move from that into a studio setting. I know that Phil Churchill, Phil and Jerry, they donated some time.
Yeah, a great amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so we recorded we recorded the record at Gingerbeard Studios, which is Phil Churchill of the Once's studio that he started here recently. He's kind of growing up right now. Phil and Jerry's, like you said, Geraldine Hollett. And yeah, they were really so generous to allow us to come in, and you know, we did it in a pretty kind of quick time frame, but yeah, they were great. They had us in. They were just, you know, more than friendly. Phil's just the best, as you know,
Yeah.
and anybody that knows him knows. And yeah,
Jerry too. Yeah.
and Jerry
They're
as well.
both
Yeah, Jerry's.
delightful.
They're both great.
So what were some of do you think the kids, do you think anything really surprised them about the studio, or were there any challenges there, things that you think they came out of it as sort of stronger, more well-rounded musicians?
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yeah, you know, I think they realized, like, it's not, you know, it's a lot of work to make music that's listenable. You know, it's like, yeah, you got to put a bit of effort into it, and you know, it's one thing to play a passable guitar take live, you know, but then like once it's under the microscope on a recording, you know, that was a great experience for them. I hope, you know, and they all had a great time, I think, and they all want to do it again. We're in the process of writing another album right now, so.
Yeah, they were
Wednesday
like
nights.
Spotify
Not right now, because
shows.
everything's shut down and the groups aren't, you know, allowed to go ahead right now. But you know, yeah.
In the near future, for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's great, and I've listened to the music. It's so nice. I know that also, you know, there are sort of two elements of the Gary Bennett Music School that coordinate this sort of band setting. I know that one of them is in the summer. There's kind of a rock camp, and then there's this Wednesday night practice as well. And at the rock camp, you had a recital last summer, and there was also this other band, which was mostly, you know, like female-identified younger people as well, playing mostly covers, but it was remarkable. They played, I think, 10 songs.
Yeah, yeah, they were great this year too. Yeah.
What's their name? They have a name too, right?
The Zodiacs.
The Zodiacs. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they called the band this summer. Yeah, but they were great. They actually played one original song,
Right.
which was amazing, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's cool. So it seems like this. It seems like there's more sort of interest and an expansion. And I mean, I know if I had a kid, I would love it for them to be in a project like that that sort of bridges community and becoming a musician, being involved in the arts, and also has such a rewarding final result. Can you sort of tell listeners who might be interested how they could possibly get their kids involved in the future, or what the plans are?
Yeah, I mean, just call down to Gary Bennett Music. You know, their numbers, you know, online and available, and there's tons of like group opportunities for like any kid that wants to get involved with group activities or private lessons. Like we take anybody, and it's not only kids either.
Yeah, it's not. That's true. Yeah.
Anybody that wants to be involved or take lessons. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Yeah, it seems like a really good crew of people. Yeah, I think, you know, people should definitely listen to the Strangers. You also have a project which is sort of, it's funny, it's called the Rangers.
The Rangers.
It's
yeah.
funny because the Strangers, this younger kid band, and they're all just like so great, and they're so, I can tell they really look up to Scott in the context of sort of being a band leader of sorts. And Scott already had a project called the Rangers, and they decided to call out their band the Strangers. No definite association there, but they do have sort of some similarities in terms of sound.
Yeah.
But you also sort of, as you were recording this EP with them, you were working on a Rangers album that was funded. Do you want to speak just kind of a little bit to that and some of the projects you're involved with in the West Coast?
Yeah,
basically?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we're done recording the Rangers album, which is like, I want to make it clear that that's not the Strangers. That's my you know, that's the song, the band that I play guitar in and sing in. And we're done that recording. We recorded it at the same place at Phil Churchill Studio. And yeah, so that's set to be released sometime, probably late winter. So that's exciting. You know, just keep your ear to the ground for that. yeah, I play in a bunch of different musical genres and groups around Corner Brook and the West Coast and stuff. So I've been fortunate to kind of do that. One with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe two with me.
Yeah, you're in the Rangers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, jeez. What am I thinking? Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, we actually also just recorded the majority of an album at Gingerbeard Studio, which is Phil's studio as well, under the band name Bus People.
Yeah.
So
band,
stay
Bus
tuned for
People.
that as well. Yeah, Bus People.
Yeah.
How do you feel that your experience as a musician and just sort of very much in the world, kind of gigging and learning a lot in a hands-on way, has informed your ability to sort of teach kids who are coming into this potential profession, potential hobby? You know, what parts of that do you think you try to impart, especially to the kids who kind of want to be in bands and want to sort of push it a bit further?
Yeah, I just want to impart that it's like the most fun thing you can do, you know, like it's like playing music with your friends or people you barely know, you know, like it's so fun and it's such a rewarding thing. And I think people enjoy seeing music shows, you know, I'd like to hope, you know.
Yeah.
And so to provide that kind of to a community is great. So yeah, I just want to impart that it's like such a rewarding thing to play music and make it and all things involved in it. So it's I think, you know, it's a worthy thing to kind of go through the process of, you know, getting the calluses on your fingers built up enough to play a couple of chords with your buds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like sometimes just getting past that daunting first step, especially when it's, you know, sort of something that's a little bit more physically challenging to do. Like I've always had a hard time with guitar specifically for that reason, but getting past that stage and then getting to the point where you can, you know, like these kids in the Strangers, you know, you've sort of excelled them into a space where I'm sure they would have formed a band themselves at some point probably, or some iteration of that, but you've excelled them into the space where now they're taking those skills and sort of that understanding outside of the classroom as well, and they're talking about sort of expanding that into their weekends and their kind of
which to me is like the greatest thing ever. Yeah, when we always had like Wednesday night band, and then eventually they were just so stoked on it that they were like, can we like do 2 band nights? And I was like, well, I mean, you know, maybe we can do that. And I was like, and there's nothing kind of stopping you guys from getting together separate from the band night, you know. And so they started doing that, and so they started getting together on Sunday nights, just independently, separate from me. And so they come to rehearsal like ready and prepared and jammed, and I don't know, it's like the greatest thing for a teacher to see that, you know.
Yeah,
that they're like inspired in that way.
Totally, yeah, and they're all friends. It's really sweet to see that too. I guess, you know, I'll ask you if you want to add anything at the end, but maybe one of my last questions is, you know, we know it's been a hard couple of years for artists with COVID and sort of all the lockdowns and the uncertainty, and we are in a moment that's tricky right now. But you know, community is sort of doing its best to band together and create resources outside of the in-person. What do you see? What do you think is going to be the most important thing for the arts, sort of once we're able to consolidate community again? Just here, you know, we know that Corner Brook is a really special place, and that the arts are so important here. What do you want to see to sort of breathe some life into that?
I mean, that's a, you know, tricky question, but I mean, obviously, like being responsible, you know, is like pretty key. You know?
Yeah.
You know, in terms of like, you know, regulations and stuff. You know, like it's like we've had it pretty easy in Newfoundland, but like it's like important not to abuse that and like kind of go crazy with it, because there is like still a pandemic happening. But separate from that, I guess like I don't know, like it's important for people to you know, when things are safe and when it's responsible to do so, like attend, you know, attend shows that you like don't know the name of the artist, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, try things out. I mean, like it's great for the community. It's great for you, because you can take in something that you weren't privy to otherwise, and it's great for the artist, So, I mean, if you like music and you want to see it kind of prosper and thrive, yeah, you have to kind of go to the things.
Yeah, like kind of
If
push
it's
yourself.
responsible to do so now.
Yeah,
I'm not
of
saying
course,
like during
yeah.
a lockdown, go,
No, but like to sort of push yourself outside of your known comfort zone of, oh, I know these 3 artists, of these 20, I'll go to these 3 shows. Maybe deciding like, I want to see those 3 shows, but maybe I'll also go to a couple more shows of people I've never seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great like kind of uprising original music scene in Corner Brook, that seems to be kind of, yeah, I don't know. Go to those
cool.
shows.
Yeah, I think, we've been at some shows here where either we've been involved or we've been witnessing, and people have been there and they've been like, I didn't even know this was here. Like, it's like consolidating sort of all the different sides of music on the West Coast when there are so many can be kind of tricky. But I think you're right in terms of, the best thing for people to do is just to kind of dive in and see. And the worst that could happen is maybe they see something and they don't love it.
Maybe
but
you don't really like it.
I think what happens more often, especially with this sort of organizing forces here as well, like at the RAC, like all of these acts are being vetted and considered, and that they're going to be good. They're going to be great.
Yeah, this stage has so many like good artists.
Yeah.
On it, and yeah, it's like, it's ideal if every artist that plays this stage has like a full house. I mean, that's not like, I don't know.
I know what you're saying with like the COVID stuff, but
Yeah.
it's like as full as is safely possible, and just sort of getting as many people involved. And there's also going to be opportunities, I think, for more sort of online events and stuff like that, too, out of here and out of places around town as well, so people can also, people don't have to wait until things have completely opened back up to get involved in that way. Just sort of keep an ear to the ground about what's happening sort of online and stuff as well. Cool. Well, do you have anything else you want to...
Any questions for you?
Yeah, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, no, I just want to say, yeah, check out the Strangers on YouTube. The Strangers Dark Days EP is how you would find it. So.
They tackle some really real content. So
yeah,
not just
the lyrical content is cool.
It's a bit heavy. Dark Days.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really, it's
definitely
pretty philosophical.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, they're
check
good.
that out. Check out all the stuff that's coming out of Gingerbeard Studios. Yeah, good old homegrown Corner Brook original music.
It's great. Cool. The studio's beautiful. They've put a lot of love into it, and it's sort of, I'm hoping to interview those guys soon as well, because it's a really, really cool new sort of resource and space within the sort of Corner Brook and general West Coast music scene, where I know some artists are, coming up from St. John's to do things there as well. So it's great for people to know about, I think. It's a beautiful space, and they're so great to work with. They have everything you would need and then some. And it's just, I've never had a better recording experience than recording with those guys.
Yeah,
so.
we just did an album there.
Yeah, so you've been down there a lot between the 3 and then some
3 acts, yeah.
projects for sure. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
And thank you to Brad and Noah and Dave at the RAC. And thank you to our viewers, and have a great day.